Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today it's a little bit different. Today we're going to be doing the tag that's going around in the knitting and crochet community of things that are a no for me, but I'm going to take it a little step further, and this is going to be my knitting and crochet hot takes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say before we get started that things that I'm going to talk about are my opinion, and you may not have the same opinion, and that is okay. Also, things that I may do, you may not do, and things that you do, I may not do. And that is okay, except for one thing. One thing I have to say I draw the line on. And we're going to talk about that one in a minute. So this is something that I've been wanting to do, but I was actually tagged in this a couple weeks ago, but it was the week that I had the flu, and then I didn't have a voice for like a week afterwards. And I still have a lot of coughing going on, so if there's weird cuts, I apologize. I'm just trying to save you from the outburst of coughing that I'm still enduring. And this was originally created from the Spoonie Stitcher. She's the one that came up with a hashtag, which is Fiber Artist Notes 2025. I do have notes in front of me because if not, I am like a rabid squirrel and I will go off on tangents. Also, please note that if someone in the comments says something that maybe you do not agree with, that is okay as well. We're not about bashing people here. We are no drama llamas, and any kind of comments that I think are disrespectful to another person, they will be removed. So, saying all that, I do also want to add that I will be doing timestamps down below. So if there's a section that you're interested in, you can skip to that timestamp. And that is because I am doing mine in different categories. So this is kind of how I'm doing mine a little bit differently, as well as more of a hot take opposed to just things I do not do. The first section that I deemed is crafting and nose, and these are pretty big for me. Now some of these I'm going to say that they're not always going to be a no, but there are some that are going to be like they're just going to be flat out no's. I'm just never going to do them. So the first crafting no that I have is crochet socks. I am never going to crochet a pair of socks to wear. I may crochet some house slippers to wear over my socks. I think I have a couple pairs actually queued to make, but I'm never going to crochet socks to wear in shoes. My sensitivity to the stitches would just be going off like crazy. I don't think I can walk on them at all. Like that would just make me bonkers. I do knit socks. I have knitted socks several times. I think I've knitted like 13 pair of socks, but I am not a sock knitter. I do like having a pair on the needles just because they're a great travel project, but I have really big feet and they take forever for me to make. So it's not something that I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to cast on 2 pair of socks for the month. That's not going to happen at all. Number 2, I am not going to knit or crochet a pattern more than once, with a few exceptions. So my plain vanilla socks, if I do cast on some socks, that would be about the only time that you will actually see me making a pattern more than once. And it's just a basic toe up with a fish lips concealed. And then another pattern that you will see me do is knitted knockers. I do make a lot of knitted knockers. I haven't made any lately, but I have made a bunch of knitted knockers, and that's something that I will continue to make even though it's the same pattern. But other than, oh, and the mini socks. I do make a lot of little mini socks and little Christmas trees, but like as far as bigger things, I'm not going to make it more than once. That's also why I don't sell things. That I just couldn't do it. More power to you that do that. The next thing is knit or crochet a blanket in 100% natural wool. Now, I do have a sock yarn blanket on the needles, but this is superwash merino and nylon. So it's a little bit more durable, and this is going to be a throw mainly for me because it's like a memories blanket. But I'm not going to knit 100% wool or a wool cashmere blend blanket because I have or crocheted it because I have 5 cats and 2 teenage boys. And if you know, you know. Okay, it's just not gonna happen. I do not want the responsibility of having to launder that thing because it would be horrid. Horrid. Maybe one day when they get older, the kids, I may do a throw. I don't know. I would definitely want to have some nylon in it for durability. I will knit and crochet acrylic blankets because they're washable, and I think that that just makes more sense. I would never gift a new mom a hand wash only blanket either for their baby because they may not know they have to hand wash that, and as a new mom, I just cannot imagine having to take the time to hand wash things. Although I would do it for my own child, but someone that you don't know their life, I wouldn't put that on them. So that's my hot take on that one. And maybe you love to knit or crochet wool blankets for babies and new parents, and they may love them. But everyone I've known in my life would be like throwing that sucker in the wash machine. And then they would be very sad. And I don't want to put them through that. The next one is wearables and acrylic yarn. And I know a lot of you do this, so don't come at me in the comments. But I am very hot natured and I live out in Alabama. And since acrylic is a man made plastic, it kind of holds in your heat and it doesn't really allow it to breathe. I don't think I would ever wear a sweater in acrylic yarn unless it's really loose gauge. I definitely wouldn't wear a crocheted one. Not that I think that they're ugly or anything like that. I just think it's going to be too thick for me because crochet stitches are so much thicker than a knit stitch. I possibly would do a knitted one, and I think I actually have yarn for a knitted sweater. But honestly, I don't know if I'm ever gonna make it because I'm just not a sweater wearer. I'm hoping as I get older, I get more cold-natured, and then I am a sweater wearer because then I would be wanting to make sweaters. But I don't see me ever crocheting or knitting that many acrylic wearables. But then again, I would possibly knit or crochet a wool blend sweater or wearable because of the wool. Because one of the amazing things about wool is its ability to whisk moisture from your skin and then allow it to evaporate and breathe. And that is why you have all your really good hiking socks and things that are in a wool because of that ability to whisk that moisture and but still contain your constant body heat and keep you warm. So I do see, you know, blends maybe knitted or crochet, but 100%, especially 100% crocheted worsted weight sweater or wearable, not gonna happen for me. Not gonna happen. I know I would burn up in that thing. And if it's something that you do, that again, I have seen so many beautiful ones. It has nothing to do with that. It's just my personal preference. So please don't come in the comments about that one. Now, the major, the controversial one that is probably going to get people coming at me in the comments, we're going to talk about last for this section because I'm just trying to prolong that happening. But the next one is going to be projects without a purpose. So I'm not going to make a project just to make a project. This is one of the things why I don't sell what I make or do ready to sell items really or any kind of commission sales because if I don't want to make it, I'm not going to make it. And it kind of goes back to doing a pattern more than once. I get really bored with that. And I know that I would start it and it would just sit in a bag somewhere and never get touched again. It's not going to happen. Even when I did the Harry Potter make along, which I completely forgot to sign up for this semester, when I would pick a class to do and I had a prompt, because you have to pick a class and you have a prompt and you have to make something that fits in that prompt so you can score points for your house. And even for other make alongs or craft alongs or knit alongs, crochet alongs, I'm not just going to make something just so I can join that make along or do that class. It has to be something that I already want to make. And I have a really healthy queue on Ravelry of over 850 things that I legitimately want to make and that I will make at some point. And that's kind of what I want to focus on because life's short and I just don't want to make things I don't want to make. I don't have enough time. That would be a luxury that I don't have. I don't have that time just to make things. I do make a lot of stuffies, and some people may say, well, that's a waste of time, but I enjoy making them. When I make an amigurumi, it definitely lifts my soul and my spirit because you just cannot help but to smile as you see this little creature come alive in your hands. I mean, I have there's Ross, there's the octopus, that bird, Hello Kitty. I just love those things, and I like having them sitting around, especially out here. And I can leave this for grandchildren, even though I do use the safety eyes. I would definitely tell my kids that they're not for kids under 3, but they kind of already know that. But I kind of see purpose in those because they do bring me joy. And so I'm not going to spend time making something that doesn't bring me joy. And I hope you don't either. It's just too short for that. I'm not going to buy or make something that uses novelty yarn. It would have to be like something that I just really, really want for me to buy or use novelty yarns. I haven't bought novelty yarns in years. I have a little bit of eyelash left, and I keep holding on to that thinking I want to make a teddy bear just to kind of say that I've made one to leave my grandkids one day, but I'm not a fan of it. I don't buy that yarn. I don't anymore. I haven't bought it in like 7, 8 years. I don't ever buy that scrubby yarn because I can't stand the texture of it. Like I don't know. It's not my thing. I do have a couple of random skeins of novelty yarn that I have kept that I bought when I first started knitting and crochet. And I'm talking 2013, 2014. But the majority of it I have given away or sold because I don't have joy in that. And maybe you have joy in that and that's awesome. It's just not something that I'm going to do. This is the big one. This is the one that I am asking you to be nice to each other in the comment section, but it's also something that I am very, very firm on. And I have always been firm on. So, this is also a very hot take right now in our community, but I do not share patterns. I encourage you to pay for patterns from makers. And let me go into why before you head to the comment section and get a little rowdy because first of all, we're no drama llamas here in Yarnatopia. So just remember that. I think that if a designer takes the time to write a pattern and especially if they take the time to get it tech edited, I'm not even really worried about testing because a lot of times people don't even test those properly. Tech editing costs money. I would rather pay for a pattern that has been properly tech edited, especially for sizes, than to get into a project and realize it's not working out. That makes me not happy. And I think the designers deserve pay for that. Just like we all have jobs, they're different and different people, but you go to work and you earn your pay. You would not want your employer not paying you for your job that you've done. That's just common sense. But there is a thing going around right now where people are saying that paid for patterns are gatekeeping. And I just think that's bonkers. And I'm sorry. If you're one of those people, this is just where I draw the line. I think people deserve to get paid for taking the time away from their families, away from their life to create a pattern that you want to make. And it's disrespectful and it's unreasonable to think that you're entitled to that pattern that they spent all their time on for free. Also, this kind of covers copyright. If it's a paid for pattern, I'm not going to give you a paid for pattern that I paid for because I would be stealing from that designer. I would be taking her time, claiming something as my own, and giving it out to someone else. It's morally wrong and it's a copyright infringement. It's illegal. And so I'm not going to do that. I don't do illegal things. And theft is one of them where I'm just like, it's not going to happen. And there is this thing going around right now where people are buying or that have bought patterns and they're just sending them out to people because they think it's gatekeeping information. I don't know. Next section, now that we got that out of the way, is going to be yarn best practices. And these are things that I do in my knitting and crochet as a practice for a better experience of knitting and crochet. And these are things that I've adapted over the years and really learned about through my over 10 years of knitting and crochet. Number one, and I kind of talked about this earlier, buy acrylic yarn without a purpose. I see that Joann's and Michael's and all these sales are going on. I'm not just going to go in and buy acrylic yarn without a purpose. I have gifted at least 5 to 6 33 to 35 gallon bags, trash bags of acrylic yarn away. It's just I use them for amigurumi, I use them for blankets, and I talked about how I don't really crochet or knit acrylic yarn wearables. Other like as far as clothing, accessories is a little bit different, but I just don't really use it. So I'm not going to buy it without a purpose. Which kind of goes into the next one I have, and that is I'm not going to put stash in totes anymore. Before I had my studio, I did have stash in totes, and I can tell you, even though I have all my yarns on Ravelry except for a bag that I'm going to take in and work on today, I would put the yarn in there and I would never open the tote. And I have seen people in my own life where I will go and they'll be like, "Oh, look at my yarn." And it would be just in totes outside and they haven't opened them in so long, the yarn would just deteriorate or it was moldy because it's just set in storage for so long. And that's one of the things you really have to watch out for with totes, especially if you're in a very humid climate and it's not in a temperature controlled room. If you put yarn in a tote, that tote could kind of develop moisture in there and then you're going to have mildew. Not a good combination. I just I think maybe some people it works for, they put their stuff in their totes and they are very consistent with keeping it with what's in your tote, but for me, seeing it out makes me want to use it more and it inspires me to use it more. And I understand that saying that also comes from a place of privilege of having the space to do so. And a lot of people don't have that space to do so. But there's a lot of creative ways how you can put your yarn out and be able to see it and not use up a lot of space. So an example would be if you have a china cabinet in your house and maybe you don't utilize the china that's in your china cabinet, put your yarn in that and have a pretty, display. You can even do it like in a rainbow color so it's all just lovely. Or you can put it on a pegboard and hang it on a wall. That could work, but there's just different ways that you can get it out and see it. That just works for me more. And again, that might not be something that's applicable to you, and maybe that's something that doesn't really help you use your yarn more, but for me, seeing it inspires me and makes me want to go grab something and create. And that's why I've had all my yarn, even my 100% wools, on bookcases since day one, 2013. And the reason I've never had to deal with bugs is because I do keep it in a temperature controlled area so it doesn't get too hot. There's not a lot of moisture. And every 6 months, I take everything off the shelves. I dust the shelves and move it around. I have lavender sachets in all of my bookcases, as well as little cedar pieces to help deter bugs. And we spray for bugs at our house. Although I really don't spray out here because I have jumping spiders, two jumping spiders that just kind of live randomly in the shed. And they do kill moths or anything that get in. They're my guard dogs, and I love them. This one is a huge one for me as far as a best practice, and this is something I learned really early on in my knitting and crochet adventure. And that is research a project before I begin it. And I do that in a variety of ways. So if I see something I want to make, I always pull it up on Ravelry and see if there's other projects that have been made by that pattern. I actually look at those projects that have been made by that pattern, and I see if they look similar to the pattern photo. That's a way that you can kind of see how well a pattern is written, because if other people can follow it and get the same results, you're probably going to be in good hands. But if you pull up a pattern and you look at the projects and you see that there is a huge discrepancy, I would probably pass that pattern up and find something else. Also, I look at the comments and I look if the person or the people who made that pattern actually finished it, or if it was something they got halfway through and they were like, this is not working out. And you can see if they finished it or if it's been frogged on Ravelry. I also will look up a pattern for any kind of errata or corrections before I start it, and I would just Google the pattern name and then errata, or I would pull the pattern page up on Ravelry, and often it would have the errata link down below. If it's a book or magazine, you can go to the publisher's website, and there's always a errata section, and you can see that issue or that book and see if there's any corrections have been added since then. But that is how I research projects before I begin. I also really look into doing a gauge swatch if I want it to be fitted and to fit me. But a lot of yarns I've used before, and so I know my gauge with them, and I know if I need to go down or up a needle size to get the same gauge that the designer's getting. And that just comes with practice, to be quite honest with you. In my whole 10 years of knitting and crochet, I think there's only been maybe 4 or 5 projects tops that I've ever started and actually frogged because I did not want to finish them. But I do so much research before I start a project that I know going in that I'm going to like this, I'm going to like this yarn with this, and I'm going to complete this. I've never had an issue really where I did not like the yarn choice or the color, except for when I first started, I was gonna make this hooded cowl scarf thing, and I chose the James Brett Marble Chunky, which is a very it's not a firm, it's a very loosey-goosey kinda yarn. There's a lot of drape, and I needed a yarn that was a lot more stiffer, and that was a learning curve for me on yarn usage. A great resource for finding a yarn that is gonna work for a pattern. So like say the pattern says they use the James Brett Marble Chunky, but you may not have any of that around. You can go to yarnsub.com and you can type in the yarn that the designer used, and it will give you a bunch of options that you can use that you may already have or that you can find locally to you or online. So I'm really big about researching before I start something so I know that I'm going to want to finish it. And that's kept me from having a bunch of whips that I just don't want to finish. Other big yarn practice or knitting and crochet practice for me is where I buy my patterns. I do not buy patterns off of Amazon unless it is a physical book that I already know about, because there's so many scammers out there who are stealing patterns and then formulating a PDF and selling it on Amazon. Amazon has third-party sellers. So every time you're buying from Amazon, you're not actually buying from Amazon. It's very important to look at the seller and read the comments about that seller, because there are a lot of fake people out there who are scamming people every day, and it just drives me absolutely bonkers that's even happening, but it does. I do not buy patterns off of Etsy in general. I think in my over 10 years, well, since 2013, I've may have bought 2 patterns off Etsy. It's just not something that I do. Again, there's a lot of scammers there and a lot of fake patterns, and I don't want to deal with that. I mostly buy all my patterns from Ravelry, and I stand by what I said earlier. When I see a pattern that I want, If it's a paid for pattern, I'm gonna buy it. I think I've bought over 130 something patterns from Ravelry. You know, that's a good chunk of change considering most of them are $5 or above. But I firmly believe in paying the designer for the job that they've done. I do use free patterns a lot, and again, that's why I believe so much in researching the pattern to make sure it's been edited or tested in that case. So I'm not going to start a project and just be miserable halfway through. And let me just clarify in case you have questions about that. If it's a free pattern, you cannot physically make copies and give them out because you're still distributing copyrighted material that's not yours. What you can do is give them a link to where they can find the pattern, which I do that every Monday. So if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Kim. Welcome to Yarnatopia. If you look on my post tab, you will see about every Monday there's a post that has three free knitting patterns and 3 free crochet patterns. And I just do that as a way to hopefully encourage you to get crafting. But that is okay. That is, you're not stealing anybody's rights. You're sending them to either their website or to the pattern download page. And you may wonder, well, why are not all patterns free? Because even if it's a free pattern, the designer is still making money off of that free pattern through ads, especially if it's a video tutorial or if it's on their own blog and they have ads on there. We all hate the ads on blogs. I get it. But that's allowing that creator to give you a free pattern and still earn some kind of money for their time of doing so. So I think that's a acceptable thing to deal with for a free pattern. Although I do love the ones that I can just go to Ravelry and download. I love those. And often a designer will do that so that you can see how their pattern style is and encourage you to check out their other patterns and hopefully buy from them. If I'm gifted patterns, I make sure that they're coming from actually being purchased. So in the past, I have been given patterns that were paid for, and I don't ever say anything about it, but I will go home and I will just buy the pattern from the designer because I am so firm on that that's a morality thing for me, and I am not gonna sell out my morality for a $5 pattern and my integrity. It's just not gonna happen for me. So I have gone home and bought the pattern and then just, have it that way. And then I feel like I'm doing a due diligence to the designer that way. So this last section is more of a channel thing. This is things that are hot takes or things that I do not do on this channel. I am not going to cuss on this channel, and I am a family friendly channel. Even though I do put my videos for 18 plus, kids can watch me. I'm not going to say bad things. I'm not. I work with kids all the time. It's just not me. Which is also why I don't do a lot of lives where I have people on, because I can't control what other people say. That's not my place to do that. But I would be very upset if I had someone come on my live and they were to cuss. And so to prevent that, I just don't have people on my panel really at all. Maybe that's something that I will change going forward with a preference that, or a, not really preference, with a precedent that, hey, if you come on, just know that there is no foul language, keep it PG. But that's just something that I feel very strongly about. Also, I am not going to be, how do I put this without, because I know this happens in our community, but it's just not something that I do. I'm not going to do things on my channel that are going to go against community practices, not community practices, community guidelines and terms and conditions. The terms and conditions are laid out super easy to read on YouTube. And nowadays with ChatGPT, anything that you don't understand, you can just copy and paste it and tell it to put it in simple terms and it will. And there are a lot of things that happen on channels that are a strict violation of terms and conditions. Same way I'm not going to do a review on this channel and tell you that I love something just because I want that item or that company to see me in a positive light. If I don't like something, you're gonna know about it. And I'm gonna be very honest with that opinion. I I love Jimmy Beans. I love the Della Q. But if you've ever seen any of my Della Q reviews, you know that even though I may love the product, there are several things about them I hate and that they do fall apart over time. I talked about my Namaste train case a while back, which I know that Namaste version of Jimmy Beans is no longer being made. Now it's the Della Q and Jimmy Beans line with the canvas maker stuff. But even my roll top bag, there was some things about it that I did not like. The pattern keeper, there's things about it I do not like. My tote that I have, my Della Q tote, the blue one, I'll put the video here if you haven't seen it. The inside lining has ripped and I have it sewn it back. So things go in there and they go under the lining, which is super frustrating. But I've had it for so long, there's no longer a warranty on it. And that was a $130 bag. But I think I went in and added that in the description. If not, I need to do that. I definitely need it. I know I've talked about it before on the channel though. But I want to be very realistic and very honest with you. I want to be a place where when I do reviews, it's not trying to push stuff on you. It's just trying to let you know about things, but give you honest opinion before you go spend your money on it. And I've never done any kind of review where I got paid money to do the review. Anytime you see a channel that's doing a review, if they've got paid cash to make that review, by terms and conditions, they have got to let you know that information. So they should be have clicked that little box in the video stuff before they've uploaded it, and it should have a paid promotion on top. So when you see that, you know that that maker is getting paid actual money to make that video and give you their opinion. And a lot of times it can persuade their opinion because they're making money to talk positively about it. And I have some, not all do that. Not all do that. There's a lot of people who are honest about the things that they get paid to talk about. I have been sent things in the past where I do reviews and I always tell you, I'm very upfront, hey, this was sent to me or this was given to me, and I will continue to do that. And if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you about it. So like one of the things that I have learned, I love my Furls hooks. I'm a Furls affiliate. I love them, but I don't take them out of the house. And I've talked about that several times here. I only use my Furls hooks if I'm sitting down in here or in my house because they break so easily when they're dropped. The acrylic ones, the resin ones, and it's really hard. Sometimes I don't have any more of those, and I bought them because I love that hook, and I don't want to have, lose it or break it. Even some of the older Odysseys, I've seen people drop them and they break. They don't leave my house either. So that's one of the downfalls about them because I'm always not sitting when I do my projects. And that's why I always use usually clover, to be honest with you, because I can, if I'm working on it in the house and I get ready to go somewhere, I can take it and not have to worry about coming out here and finding another hook. But I do love my furls, but I don't like them for that reason. So that's just an example of that. And that's all I'm going to say about that because I'm sure people are going to cancel me after that one also. Hi, so this is editing me. Couple things I forgot to mention in this section that I really want to say because I even had them wrote down. I don't know how I skipped them. But one thing you will not see on this channel is I do not really upload every day, nor am I that consistent. Sorry about that, but it's just the way that my life is currently. I am a caretaker to my mother-in-law, and I really never know how my day is going to go to pretty much the day of, which is also why I never get to schedule lives really in advance because I may have plans to take the day off and be at home, but then something may come up and I may need to take her to a doctor's appointment or sit with her when my father-in-law goes to a doctor's appointment. So unfortunately, that is just the season that I'm currently in right now. Another thing that you will not ever see me do on this channel, well, I'm going to say not see me do. That may change one day. I don't know. I don't have no plans for it to change. And that is do batch recording. And I know a lot of channels do that, and I'm happy for them. But because I can't plan, I can't plan to batch record. It just doesn't work out for me. And it's something that I used to really stress about putting content on the channel because YouTube does not favor channels that do not do that. They just do not push your content, I think. But unfortunately, again, that's just something in this season of life I cannot control. And so I just do what I can do. And I hope that what I do put out for you, that you do enjoy it and that it gets you watching more, because that's the only way that I can really get my channel out there is for people to watch the videos that I put out. So, and well, and interact with them by leaving a thumbs up. And that's all I know to do. Another thing you're not going to see on this channel is clickbait. I hate clickbait. It is the most annoying thing in the world. And if you do this, this is probably one where I'm going to have to say I draw the line on as well. If I see a clickbait title and I go into a video and it's something else, I'm probably just going to click off the video. I'm not going to leave you a thumb. It's just not going to happen. It goes back to, why do we feel like we have to lie to people? There's a lot of clickbait. It's a very common tactic on channels, and this is not just the knitting and crochet community, this is across the board. A lot of creators will use clickbait because they can get you to click on that video and they think they're going to get you to stick around. I don't do clickbaiting. I also don't do drama. So there are channels that their purpose is drama and they make money off of that. I don't want to profit off of somebody else's hard time. That just doesn't seem like something that I care to do. Now, I know a lot of people like to watch it, and it's a great way to make money on YouTube because people like to watch it. And they like to watch the drama channels and the drama in between the community and the drama in between other people in the community. I just don't want to be part of that. And so you're not going to see that on this channel. So if that's something that you're looking for, then my videos are probably not going to be for you. Same with negativity. I'm not a negative person. I'm not going to be negative. Bad things happen. I am honest. I'm tired. I have a lot going on in my life. But I try to keep this space a very positive one. I want it to be somewhere where you come and watch videos and you can relax and not leave feeling yucky in any kind of mental, physical, or spiritual way. Also, I don't do politics on this channel. I know that a lot of channels do that, and I know a lot of channels or a lot of people believe, knitting and crochet is very political. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It's whatever you want it to be, and I don't want it to be that for me, so I don't allow it to be that. And I don't talk about that stuff here. So you won't ever see that here. So if you don't want to hear about that stuff, then this channel might be a great channel for you. And in saying all that, I think that's about it. I think that covers all of my hot takes and my what I do not do's and what I do do's on this channel. What I do do's. um, but yeah, I those some of those things I'm very firm on them. And a lot of those things, like I said, it's just come with experience and what I realize that I like and that I enjoy and what I want to put out into the world. And I hope that that's things that you like and enjoy. And I hope that's what gets you to stay around and not leave me, because I do love interacting with everyone, different political backgrounds, different beliefs, different, ways of life. That brings me joy in learning different cultures and stuff. So I hope that we can find a common ground. But that's all I have today. I really appreciate you sitting out here and chilling with me as we talk about these hot takes in the community. I would love to know if you agree or disagree with any of mine, or if any of the things that I do, you do not do, and vice versa. So make sure you leave a comment down below to let me know. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful crafty day. See you in the next one. Bye!